Welcome back to K24 this morning with me, Shiko Kaitani, as we continue our conversation about safe spaces for women. And how do we go about promoting that? It's all about female empowerment this Wednesday morning. And as you know, it's Ladies' Night, or should I say Ladies' Day? Wednesday is all about the ladies, so of course you will excuse us for having this discussion and focusing on us. At K24 TV is how you can reach us, and of course we do have our WhatsApp number at the bottom of your screen. Here's our question of the day in case you missed it. We're asking, have we failed as a society to create safe spaces for women who are facing vulnerability at their homes or even workplace? In studio with me is Patricia Jaconia, Programs Manager under Policy and Partnerships with LVCT, and also Mehnaz Sarwa, yes, I hope I said that right, who, by the way, is the founder of Anisa. It is a female-driven cab company dedicated to women, either drivers or passengers. And so as you continue to just weigh in on our conversation this morning, allow me to just highlight what the world has been obviously focusing on, which is the case of the Iranian woman who had died from a blow to the head. Remember, we are talking about the late Mahsa Amini, who actually died under the hands of morality police. This has gotten the entire globe mortified, cannot believe that someone can lose their life simply because of, opposing, beliefs or pretty much very stringent rules to live under. Okay, and so let me just start off with you ladies in terms of just giving your comments on this particular issue that we've seen. Mehnaz, I think for you it hits closer to home because this is something that you live with or you see your fellow counterparts having to deal with day to day. The issue of covering up, the issue of morality police. We may point hands at the Middle East, but even here locally we've had cases of morality police, or people who've appointed themselves as morality police. So for you, how did you feel about that? How did this story make you feel?
I think it's so, in this day and age, a woman's body, like the whole movement of my dress, my choice.
Yeah.
I'll just put myself in context. The whole aspect of me being covered. As a stereotype, I'm supposed to be a woman sitting at home. I should be quiet. I should have no voice. I should be oppressed, but I'm not. Part of my covering was because I lived in the West for a long time, and I actually chose to cover while living in the West, and this was my choice. So I did choose to cover. So there are women outside there who do choose to cover. Yeah. And if you look into my context, I had to go against my family. My family did not like the fact that I cover. Which is so rare, and this is before I even got married. So this was my safe space. I felt more comfortable being covered. I felt more confident being covered. But a woman should have the choice to cover or not. Yeah. Even in Islam, we have no compulsion in religion. We are told that being covered is good. But we're not told that anyone's allowed to force that on us.
Right.
You see, if we're living in a society where we are empowering women, we are giving women a choice, whether being covered or not, it shouldn't be a hindrance. For me, a lot of people don't take me seriously because of the fact that I'm a covered Muslim woman. There are certain spaces, even when you go to the government offices or anywhere, they see me and they think of me as a threat.
Right.
There's that context. Right. That I'm extreme, I am this. But I'm just a woman who chose to cover. Yeah. And, I'm running my business. I have kids. I homeschool. There's so many things that I do. So I'm not my covering.
More power to you.
I am much more. Yeah. I am much more than just a covering. I am a woman.
I like that.
I am, I have ambitions.
You
I
have ambitions,
goals. Yeah. And I also want to be a role model for other women who choose to cover.
Nice.
Because at the end of the day, we need a voice as well.
Yeah.
We are not oppressed. We're not subjugated. We are educated. We are creating spaces for ourselves as well.
Yeah.
I think more Muslim women need to go out there and explain what happened to Mahsa was completely wrong.
Yeah.
It was, men shouldn't be dictating. And even if they are dictating, how do you go ahead and kill a woman just because you think she was wrong? There's other ways to educate.
Right.
There's other ways to communicate.
Yeah.
Even if you see me and you see, okay, this woman is covered, there's some you don't accept. But that's not your right.
It's and Patricia, this is what makes her story very fascinating, because the average person will think, okay, this is just another housewife, uneducated, who's being oppressed. until she opens her mouth, and then you're like, wait, there's something there. She's more educated than quite a number of people, above average, you know. And so for you, how did this story make you feel? And do you feel that her country let her down? Because that's what, when we talk about what is community, community is the smallest factor. The family is the SI unit of the society.
Yes.
So that society to you, did you feel they just let her down?
100%. When I read that story, all that kept on ringing in my mind is that this is unacceptable, it's unexcusable, and we shouldn't be quiet about it. And for me, I mean, you cannot say you are a moral cop when you take life.
Yeah.
You contradict yourself. Part of morality is preserving life. So by killing somebody, you're not rubbing a point. In fact, you're brooding animosity. And what you're doing is that you're creating more monsters. Because the one thing that happens is when I have seen another woman going through that, then what I want to do is, you know, beef up my security, fight even harder, be so hard on men or on anyone who says the word morality. And the next thing is, who defines morality?
Right.
What may be moral to someone else may not be moral to me. And so to have somebody die because of dressing, dress is a piece of cloth, cannot be compared with life.
Yeah.
And it was really sad, you know, just listening to that, people trying to justify, but you know, like she didn't have a headscarf. It really doesn't make sense.
It's like what happened a couple of years ago here, where they stripped the women in the matatus.
Yes.
The men thought they're not morally dressed, let's strip them.
Yeah.
You see, those kind of things, men think it's okay to go into our safe spaces and try to right our wrongs. We're not here to be corrected in those ways. There are other ways to deal with a woman.
And let me ask you, even because you have come out openly, publicly saying, I am a safe space for women.
Yeah.
What challenges have you gone through setting this up, and how do you challenge those who are opposing what you're trying to do?
The main actually women understood when we came up with Anisa, because we understand what women go through on a daily basis, but the men don't understand what we go through. They don't think that we need to sit in a car and, you know, plan a whole escape route. They don't need to go through that. They just sit into a car, get from A to B. They're not thinking what's going to happen to us on the way. But women, we because it's happened to women before, women do not feel safe in the current spaces that are out there. So our biggest opposition was from men. We're not all bad. We never said that men are all bad. But I think it's so important for women. By the time we change those mentalities and create like our next generation who are more open-minded, who are more accepting of women, the way they dress, the way they talk. Currently, it's not the situation. A lot of women don't feel safe in the current space. So we just wanted to create a space where women don't feel like they need to look a certain way, dress a certain way. We know. For us, the main priority is the safety. We need to make sure our women get from A to B without thinking about anything else.
And Patricia, for you, because obviously, you know, you guys have what you call hotlines, counseling centers, and what have you. How does a woman begin that journey of trying to get out of this toxic environment, if you will, whether it's about, you know, sexual harassment in the workspace, whether it's you having to live under this roof with an unbearable situation and what have you? How does someone begin now to say, okay, there's hope? There are other women like the two of you who are here in studio giving me a platform and a voice.
I think the first starting point is that women who are survivors need to tell their story. Stories are powerful. When we tell our stories, we are giving hope. When we tell our stories, we are creating a safe space. Somebody can actually see that you started here, you've gone through this, you are here now, and they appreciate the process. The second thing is we need a mind shift. A mind shift that when I speak out about certain abuses that I'm going through, it doesn't mean that I am weak. So that we are creating an enabling environment where women can actually talk about it
Yeah.
without feeling judged. Because when women come out, the very first thing they're asked is, what were you putting on? What did you tell what did you tell him? You know, like you say, he slapped me, but why did he slap you? And then we want to look for excuses for why a violation happened. There is absolutely no excuse. For me, anyone who beats up another is a coward. That's for me is the basic standard. I hear you've slapped somebody, you're a coward because you're using your power wrongly.
Yeah.
And the third thing is, giving the women that assurance that it's a confidential space. So women call the hotline because, one, you know, hotlines, you don't see the other person. So there's no fear that this person knows me or whatever. But even when we open ourselves to be safe spaces that women can come and talk to us, we have to assure them of confidentiality.
Yeah.
And we also have to respect the right of that woman to make the ultimate decision. So even when you come for counseling, as a counselor, I don't make the final decision. All I do is empower you to decide what is good for you now and take the next action. And we constantly need to remind women of that empowerment is about me. Empowerment is about me deciding. It's choice.
Yeah.
And it's having the courage to actually do the right thing.
Okay. And as we begin to wind down, as you know, we all have, the live, event, or can I say, what's taking place in the vetting process that is at Bunge. We are going to be cut short shortly, but as we're winding up, for you, how do we begin this conversation with men? Because the change doesn't just start, obviously, with the women. We also have to include the men, menas. So how do we begin that dialogue also to just help, the men in our society to understand, okay, this is what we want, this is what we need, this is how we feel that we should be treated?
I think generally the acceptance, men need to understand that it's not us against them. We're living in a society. In the society, there are both men and women. Unfortunately, women they feel vulnerable, they feel not safe in the current spaces. So I think men should not think it's because a woman goes and does a women only, that is something against them. Their fathers, their husbands, they also should understand that we're just creating something that a woman does not feel vulnerable. And I'm sure they should understand that there are situations where they wouldn't put their own daughter, their own wife, their own mother. So it's not a us against them. Anissa didn't come here to say that all men are bad, or like I said, there's not two sides. We are all part of one society, and I think women should. Any safe spaces of women should be accepted, and we should. As touching on to what Patricia was saying about violence and anything. If a woman is empowered, if a woman has a job, a woman can look after herself. It's easier for her to walk away from toxic environments. So I think it's important for women to have that, empowerment, giving them employment, giving them
economically,
it gives them a
right?
voice. It gives them a voice, and also enables her to create a life for herself and walk away from any situation where she doesn't feel safe. And
that speaks a lot to someone who's watching right now saying, oh, I've been living like this for so many years. So the issue is nobody has ever empowered them economically.
But Shiko, we also have women who are empowered economically, but they stay in abusive relationships. A lot of women. And it's because of the perception of the society. As a manager, if I come out and say, I have been going through abuse, it's a shocker. And dealing with that shock for women is something else.
All right.
Yeah. So creating that support system for me really is very important. It's extremely important that we empower women economically, but also empowering women to make the decision and not judge them for the decision they have made.
Okay, and then very quickly, let's just talk about the impact that all these unsafe spaces have on a woman mentally, and then we can wind up. So what would we realize what the negative impact that it will have on me should I not get out?
We've had a lot of very sad stories where women sat in there until they died. And I have written about this before. For me, I say there's a reason why we have two legs Putting it as crude as that,
Yeah.
that you can use your legs to run. Run. From that very first time when there's a slap, when there's, that harsh conversation, start thinking about your safety. Because women start by just, it's stress, it's depression, it's suicidal ideations, it's normalizing violence, and everybody around you, right from your mother, your grandparents, they're always like, we were always beaten, and we sat in there, and you see we've survived. And so they start making you feel like, I can just sit in here, this guy will never hit me until I die, until we hear another story.
Yeah.
So let's be the people who will say, and for me, this is what I say everywhere, including even in Christian settings. Somebody is beating you up, leave. Have this conversation when you're out of that house. Reach out when you're safe.
Yeah.
So that you can then have this equal platform. And this person can also know that you are an individual, you have your purpose and you want to fight for it, you have your dreams and you want to achieve them, and you're willing to do anything to get there.
Okay, thank you. And for you, your parting shot to women who are watching, I think there is a woman out there who's saying, oh my gosh, you're a thought leader in your community, you're a businesswoman, and you're a Muslim businesswoman at that, okay, who's chosen to fully cover on top of that. So it makes you very extraordinary if you think about it. But what's your message to women out there on how to create their own spaces? What can they do for themselves just to build themselves up?
Main thing, a woman needs to look at what makes me feel uncomfortable, and how do I make a change.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of ways to make changes. It depends on, for example, I did not feel safe in certain taxis. So I always felt more safer when I saw a woman driver. So I thought, okay, this is my safe space. If I'm getting from A to B, I have kids. Sometimes being with kids in a taxi is another another hassle. So it's about being a mother. It's about being not feeling safe in those spaces. So that's how I created my safe space. So now look into what you do not feel safe in, and now make a change like that.
Nice.
So look into society, see what's missing, and take a step forward.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There's a question here for you, Mehnaz. Let's look at that, Brenda. We have a lady director. Hey. So there's where is the women only taxi app available? Okay, that's a good one for those who don't know about
Play Store,
Anissa.
and we are on iOS very soon.
Okay.
So we are online. We've been actually functional since 2018. We have been trying to work out our technology part of it. So we ended up working with a partner who are based in Egypt and Saudi Arabia, and they're called Barmaja. So, which is so ironic. Usually, people from those countries. And actually, they were amazing in terms of they saw my vision, and they were so happy that I am creating a safe space, and they wanted to be part of it. And the director is a man, and he actually believed that I could do it. And he came forward and he said, "You see, we can do great together."
Yeah.
And I thought that was, that's amazing. So having that support is so important. So our app is out.
Yeah.
We are on Play Store, and hopefully we'll be all around the world sometime.
Yeah. And let's speak to all those men who are watching like Miss Wenzi Bebo na mwanamke. Yeah? And then all mistakes on the road are women drivers. Yeah, it can never be a man. It just cannot be a man. Every mistake that happens on Kenyan roads, all of them are mwanamke.
But women drivers are very careful. Very,
And
very
we are
careful.
amazing drivers.
Do men come to the taxi and then get out? They're like, oh my God, it's a female driver.
That's the funny thing, because we only accept rides
from
from
women.
But there are men who actually also feel safer being with women.
Oh.
Men have had bad experiences with taxis as well, and they do try.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we only cater for women and children, because I think we needed that space.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if men don't feel safe, you need to create your own little space as well.
All right, guys, thank you so much. We have to end it there because of the CS nominee vetting that's just about to get on your screen in a couple of minutes. Remember, we are changing our programming this week just to accommodate the vetting proceedings, if you will. But that being said, we want to say a big thank you, obviously, to Patricia Jaconia from LVCT, who is a programs manager under policy and partnerships. She talked about hotlines. She talked about getting help. Please reach out to LVCT if you do feel vulnerable and you feel that you need to actually get that level of counseling. LVCT are actually open. They have their lines open as well. Yeah.
Toll free. 1190.
1190 toll free. And then also to Mehnaz, Sarwa, if you are also, I don't know if they're open for career advice and all that. But Mena's obviously empowering quite a number of ladies out there. Congratulations and thank you for what you're doing for women. Continue to do what you do. So that is her from obviously Anisa, a female driven cab company. Look them up on social media. So let's say thank you from the breakfast crew. My name is Shiko Kaitani. Have a wonderful day up ahead.